Okay, let's look at transformations, right? So in the last video, we talked about the basic graphs. And what we want to do next is to tweak the graphs a little bit so that we can create a new graph. And that's where transformations come in. All right, so let's look at 6 transformations. All right, look at the first one. All right, so original function is f of x, y equals f of x, and c is just a constant, positive constant. All right, so what would happen to the graph of f of x if you add a positive number right at the end? All right, so you can see that originally its y value is f of x, and you're basically increasing the y value by positive number c. So which means that the graph is going to move up by c units. So this is going to be a shift up by c units. All right. And once you can figure that one out, the number 2 is simple. All right, so what if you subtract c? So if you're adding c, it's increased the value of y, so it's going to go up. If you subtract a number, the y value is going to go down, which means that the graph is going to get shifted down by c unit. So this is going to be a shift down by c units. Right? All right, third one is a little bit tricky and it's kind of counterintuitive, right? What if you add c inside the parentheses, right? So it's going to be a horizontal shift, and if you're adding c, it's a little counterintuitive. Even though you're adding c, you are actually moving toward the negative direction, so it's going to be a shift left. So it's going to shift left by c units. Right? Then next one, you can easily guess that it's going to shift right by c units if you subtract c inside the parentheses. So shift right by c units. Right? So if you're adding c or subtracting c at the end, it's going to shift up and down. And if you're doing adding and subtract inside the parentheses, it's going to shift left and right. All right. And fifth one, what happens if you put a negative sign right in front of the function? All right. So all the positive function value is going to get turned into negative. All the negative function value is going to be turned into positive. So what happens is that the graph is going to be reflected about the x-axis. So this is going to be a reflection about the x-axis. All right. So that's the fifth transformation. All right. And the last one, what if you multiply a function by a constant c? All right, this one's a little tricky. It kind of depends on the value of c. So we're going to look at the small value, for example, between 0 and 1. All right, if c is bigger than 1. All right, so let's look at the small value c. All right, if you multiply a function by a constant, which is a positive constant less than 1, it's going to be a vertical compression. All right, it's going to get kind of squished vertically because you're multiplying by a number which is less than 1. So for example, if it's 1/2, all the function value is shrunk to half of the original size. All right, so if c is bigger than 1, then it's going to be a vertical stretch. All right, by a factor of c. So for example, if c is 2, then the original function value gets doubled. So it's going to kind of get stretched vertically. All right, so those are the transformations that we need for this course, and let's look at an example. All right, so we want to sketch the graph of y equals negative 2 f of x plus 3 minus 1. All right, so you can see that there are multiple transformations applied to f of x. So we have to apply these transformations one by one, and you have to apply them in the right order. So the rule of thumb in terms of the right order would be do the multiplications first, then do the addition subtractions later. All right, so you can see that here's a negative 1, right? So I'm going to do that first, right? First transformation would be a reflection, right? Because multiplied by negative 1. So reflection about the x-axis. All right. And the next one is we have to do a multiplication first. So I'll do this one. So multiply by 2, right? Since that 2 is greater than 1, so it's going to be a vertical stretch. So 2, it's going to be a vertical stretch by a factor of 2, right? And then you can do plus 3 minus 1. You can do either one. So I'll do a plus 3 first, all right? So this is going to be our third transformation. So 3. Right, so since this is an inside the parentheses, so it's going to be a horizontal shift. And its direction is counterintuitive. Adding 3 actually shifted to the left. So this is it's going to shift left by 3 units. All right. And the last one, obviously, minus 1 at the end. So subtracting 1 is going to shift down by 1 unit. All right, so all we need to do is start with this given graph of y equals f of x. Then we're going to apply these 4 transformations one by one. All right, so let's do that. All right, so let's apply reflection about the x-axis. All right, so what happens is, let's start here. So original y value of this point right here is negative 1. All right, so once gets apply reflection, it's going to be a positive 1. So it's going to go up here. All right, and here, original y value is 0. So even if you negate it, it's still 0. So it's going to stay there. All right, here, original function value is positive 1. So once you apply reflection, it's going to go down to negative 1. All right, same with this guy. It's going to go down here. All right, this y value is 0, so it's going to stay there. All right, so after the first transformation, you're going to have a graph which looks like this. So I'll draw it with a dotted line. All right, so this is after the first transformation, so I'll label as 1. All right, then apply second transformation. All right, so it says the vertical stretch by a factor of 2. So original y value gets doubled. All right, so here, so this is 1, and after it gets doubled, it's going to be 2. Right, 0, it gets doubled, it's still 0. All right, negative 1 gets doubled, it's going to be negative 2, so it's going to go down here. negative 1, so it's going to go down here, right? 0 doubled is still 0, right? So you can see that after the second transformation, you have a graph which looks like this, right? So you can see that the graph is stretched vertically, right? So this is after the second transformation, right? Then third transformation, we need to shift the whole thing to the left by 3 units, right? So let's look at this point. This is going to go to 1, 2, 3. So it's going to end up here, right? All right, this point is going to get shifted 1, 2, 3 units to the left, right? And this is going to get shifted 1, 2, 3 units over here. Right, this is going to get shifted 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be over here. All right. So after the third transformation, you're going to get a graph which looks like this. All right. So I have to. All right. So that's that. So that's after the third transformation. Alright, then the last one, alright, shift the whole thing down by 1 unit. So it's pretty simple. Alright, since it's the final one, I'm going to use a red. So this point, it's going to go down 1 unit. So it's going to go here. Alright, this point is going to go down right here. Alright, and this point is going to go down right here. Alright, and this point is going to go down 1 unit right here. Right, so the final graph that we're looking for is going to look like this. So connect those two those dots together. So it's going to go down, go through here, and there. All right, so this is the graph of y equals -2 f of x plus 3 minus 1. All right, so this is how you apply transformations, and make sure that you apply transformations in the correct order. Otherwise, you actually get a wrong picture. All right, that's it. I hope that this was clear.